Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to have you here today. We are excited to share some of our biggest tips for website design. All of these tips and tricks are going to help drive business growth. So that's what we're here to talk about today. My name is Kelly Lucas. I'm Chief Design Officer here at LunarLab. I also have my co-founder, Elizabeth Anderson, on. She's our CEO, and she'll be womaning the comments today. So LunarLab is a product strategy and design studio based here in Birmingham, Alabama. We help companies of all sizes achieve their business goals through solid design and strategy. We work on everything from websites, web apps, mobile apps, and more. So if you have a digital product or experience, we can help you increase leads, increase sales, decrease churn, improve user satisfaction, and much more. In today's session, we're going to be focused on tips and tricks for website design. Like I said, your website is often the first experience that a potential customer has with your product or service. So think of it as your storefront. What do you need to get people to walk through the door and experience what you have to offer, convince them to purchase your product or service? That's what your website does. So the design strategies we're going to discuss today are going to help your business increase leads, build your brand, solidify trust, and increase conversions. So let's take a look at what they are. All right, number one, less clicks. To reduce the friction someone encounters on your website, reduce the number of clicks it takes for them to complete their primary task or goal. Every website has a primary goal or purpose, right? So it might be to sell. You can think of Amazon. It might be to generate leads. So a company like a service company like ours, or an attorney, or a software development company. It might be to entertain, like Netflix or a Disney Plus. It might be to inform. So you can think of like a news website. It could be to serve, so a government website like the DMV or a nonprofit. It could be to present, so presenting like an artist portfolio, or it could be to connect, like a dating website. So in each of these examples, consider the person's primary goal. Let's take Amazon for an example. If you've ever used Amazon, you have definitely seen the Buy It Now feature. Why do you think that's important? Because it makes it easy, right? One click, puts money in their pocket, gets you what you need. So less clicks, less friction, more purchases. Story time. We worked with a client once who came to us and said, we have this really beautiful website. We're getting 100,000 visitors to our site every single month, but no one's converting. If we don't get 1% of people to convert, we can't stay in business. So they hired us to audit their existing site and make some recommendations to help them achieve their business goal, which was to increase conversions. So the company's mission was to help people book entertainment for events in, quote, just a few clicks. So events like weddings or corporate events or parties, if you were planning something and you needed to book an artist or a band to come play, you could go to their site, listen to some song examples, and then book them directly through the site for your event. Except you definitely couldn't do that in just a few clicks. But what you could do is you could do it in about 15 clicks with several days of layovers in between. And if you lead with a tagline like, in just a few clicks, you have to be able to back it up. So what we did was we ran a click test, which is exactly what it sounds like. You just write down the number of clicks it takes for someone to complete a task. And for this company, it was book an artist for my event. So from the moment that someone browsed and found an artist they liked, they were prompted to sign up for an account. They signed up, the site up until this point worked really, really well. And it was really beautifully designed, but that's really where it fell apart. People were interested enough to book and get to this step, but no one was completing the rest of the flow. So it went something like this. You get to the site, you click the sign up button, you choose a role. So if you're a musician, you could sign up to be listed on there, or you could sign up to book talent. Complete the sign-up form, go back to your email to click the verification link, then log in, then you get stopped by a pop-up. So it's a modal that explains what the site did, which you already knew, so you close the modal, fill in your profile details, and then you wait for about 48 hours. Why? Because the site didn't want their competitors to see what they were doing. So in other words, their primary target audience, the people who needed to book talent, were being prevented from quickly converting to paying customers because they wanted to prevent competitors from logging in. So once approved, they then had to search for the artist again, and let's hope that they wrote it down and remembered who it was. Click to view the artist details. Hopefully they didn't get booked up over the past 2 days while you were waiting for the approval. Then click book the artist button, create my event and save it, fill in my event request form, save that, search for the artist again for the third time. Add the artist to the event form and then submit. So plan your party in just a few seconds, right? So we simplified it. So sign up, first step. Click the email to verify, select your role, fill in your profile, create your event, and submit it. Absolutely no purpose to that manual approval step where I have no doubt that a lot of people dropped off. If competitors wanted to come to us and pay for design services, I would absolutely let them. I would not stop them. So in summary, make it easy for people to convert. All right, tip number 2, information hierarchy. Carefully consider the content on your site in the information hierarchy therein. So remember when we talked about the purpose of your site? This is where it really, really matters. You need to categorize your content based on how your target audience is looking for information. So if you're selling something, your navigation and content should be focused on showcasing what you're selling, the options available to them, how you differ from your competitors, and a way to quickly purchase your products, maybe a way to search. If you're a SaaS company, you're going to need to showcase your features, the benefits of using your product, maybe an easy way to subscribe, maybe a way to sign up for a free trial or schedule a demo, and then remove everything else that is not in support of your primary task. Want to showcase your cats or talk about your hobbies? Don't do it on your website unless it's fluffy.com and the site is for your cat's TikTok. All right, number 3, make it easy to navigate. Let's start off by looking at a couple of really bad examples. This is an agency website. And if anybody knows where to click, you let me know. So we've got kind of a funky cursor here. These little things spin. There's a bunch of text kind of floating around. I have no idea what to click on. Maybe this is clickable. It is. But it just rearranges the entire website. There's no new information on here. Let's do it again. And again, just more colors. Makes no sense, right? Please don't do this. Don't do that. I couldn't tell you what these people do. Maybe they do design. Maybe they should call us. Example number 2. If anybody knows what this website does, you let me know. Just from if I didn't click on anything, if I didn't scroll, didn't do anything else, I would have no idea what this company did. So maybe we scroll a little bit. Well, I can see that, well, there's a map. Maybe they do something. There's a bunch of, well, maybe they need news. I see Forbes. See another map. I have no idea what they do. No idea. Point being, please don't do this. Nobody cares how boring your navigation looks. Nobody cares. Don't do anything fancy. Don't make it overly animate. Don't make your cursor animate. Don't do anything weird with the cursors when you hover over stuff. Don't make people seasick. And please make your navigation visible at all times. It just helps people navigate your site a little bit easier. So this sounds really obvious, but we see it all the time. Don't hide important information. There's no such thing as boring when it comes to navigation. It's just basic wayfinding. So if you've ever been on a subway, you know how important signage is to like finding your destination, right? You can think about your website the same way. Website's no different. Make it easy for people to find their way. Make sure there's clear links at the top and the footer. There's contact information that's prominent. Don't reinvent the wheel and do some weird shit. Use descriptive titles in your navigation. So like about and shop and features and contact us and sign up. All of those are really obvious what they do, right? Make sure that things that are clickable are obviously clickable and things that aren't are obviously not. Keep your navigation pretty simple. 5 to 7 options is recommended. Anything above that, you can always put it in a sub-navigation. And then think about where you want people to go. What is the thing that you want? What is the next step you want somebody to take? Do you want them to call you? Do you want to fill out a contact form, purchase something? Everything should lead to that next step. Number 4, keep the copy on your website short, sweet, and to the point. Everyone knows that scene from The Notebook when Ryan Gosling keeps saying, what do you want? What do you want? When people come to your website, you don't want them screaming, what do you do? So remember your primary task. Explain it really clearly. Every word on your site should be written in service of this one task. You're aiming for 300 to 500 words, give or take, on a page. Not a lot. Nobody wants to read huge, long pages of text, especially on a website. Clearly communicate what value you offer, the benefits of your products or services, proof of how your product or service has helped other people, so like reviews, and a clear next step. Subscribe, purchase, and get in touch, fill out the contact form. So let's look at an example. The site in the screenshot to the right says we create transformational change. I don't really like change. March 2020 taught me that. But the problem with this headline is it's really just too vague. What exactly are you trying to convince me to change? Is it good? Is it bad? Would you click on that button? Does it tell you enough to click on that button? What if it said this instead? Free, beautiful wedding websites. Start your website is the main button. And they even sprinkled in some extra value, free. It couldn't be more straightforward. Do you see how much clearer this headline is than the other one? Can you communicate what your business does in 5 to 7 words? That's your headline. Keep it short and sweet. Number 5, make your button labels or your calls to action, your CTAs, short and clear. CTAs are just buttons. If you want someone to click the button to subscribe or to buy or to get in touch or to learn more, say that. Make it very, very obvious what is going to happen when someone clicks that button. I personally think Jenny's Ice Cream does a really fantastic job of getting straight to the point. She has a huge image of their ice cream pint, a description of the ice cream, a little drip of nostalgia, and you're one click away from a tub of Fluffer Nutter pie ice cream. Try a slice is the button name, and I think it's a perfect example of like a branded button that's super relevant. It's clear that it's a button. It's a clear call to action, and they also have a really smooth, easy checkout process. So consider what CTAs are right for your site. For example, on a blog, the CTAs might be something like read more articles or sign up for our newsletter or subscribe for premium content or share on social media. Whereas on an e-commerce site, your CTAs might be more purchase focused, like add to cart or see details or checkout or buy now or add to a wish list. Some maybe not so good examples. Click here, showed this one earlier. Okay. Could definitely name your button okay, but it doesn't tell anybody what's going to happen when you click it. Done. That one, there are situations you might use that, but on a website, it's very rarely used. And then learn more. I think this one can be a little controversial, but I personally think it's mostly fine. It's a little bland, but it's understandable. So when in doubt, go with bland. And then your CTA should really describe something of value to the person seeing it. Why should I click on this thing? Why do you want me to? What's behind the button that makes me want to click it? So make sure that they're user-centric or human-centric. And while we're on the subject of buttons, size does matter. And it is vitally important on mobile devices. So Apple recommends a minimum tap target size of around 44 pixels by 44. Google recommends around 48. So that just means that when your finger goes to tap a button, it's large enough for your finger to tap the button. Things like button size can drastically affect your Google rankings, believe it or not. Google does look like stuff like that. And then there's nothing worse than forcing people to work twice as hard to tap a button. Like I said, make it easy. Tip number 6, social proof. Social proof is one of the single most important ways to build trust amongst your target audience. Social proof shows that other people have endorsed your product, found it useful, or your service or your content. It helps to differentiate you from your competitors. It provides a more genuine and direct message than what you can write for yourself. It's more believable. It makes more of an impact. Sprinkle social proof throughout your website to back up any claims of evidence. You can do this with client logos. You can do this with awards that you've won, partnerships that you've built, testimonials, reviews by customers or clients, portfolio pieces, case studies, data, statistics, charts, anything that can really highlight the story or the impact of your product or services. If you've got certifications or memberships, trust seals, all of those things can help build trust. Number 7, quick and easy forms. Make any forms on your website quick and easy to complete. Only ask for the very most important information possible. Remove anything that's nice to have or anything that you can ask for at a later time. This goes for contact forms, payment flows, checkout forms, asking people to subscribe, signing up for your product or service. Every piece of information that you ask people to fill in is an opportunity for them to change their mind and is a barrier to completing their task. Make it easy for them. Some advanced tips: enable autofill. Don't ask people to fill in information you already have stored in your system. Use clear form labels on your form fields, and then communicate errors clearly. There's nothing more frustrating than your submit button being disabled and you not being able to figure out what is the missing piece of information or what did I do wrong. People will just abandon it. All right, tip number 8, make converting easy. So to recap, make navigating easy, make it easy for people to give you information, make buttons easy to click, and you know what else we want to be super easy? Customers to give you money. That's it. Remove everything that gets in the way of that. Make your products and services easy to find on your site. Make the price clear. People do not like surprises. Make it easy to pay. Offer Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, Shop, Venmo, whatever makes the most sense for your business case, just make it easy. You can always offer incentives like free trials or discounts, anything that's going to help increase the likelihood that someone's going to convert. All right, tip number 9. Make sure your website is mobile responsive. We see this all the time. Who's seen a site like this before? Example on the left. Yeah, it's not good, right? Imagine the image on the left is a website that isn't mobile responsive. This just means that on specific device sizes that it doesn't automatically adjust to fit that screen size. So the inputs are too small. They don't meet the 44 pixel tap target requirement for mobile. The text overlays the form itself and it makes it really impossible to read. The main button, if you can even find it, it's up here and it's getting cut off. Can't even hardly read the text on it. And then it also covers up the progress bar. I don't know where I am in this flow. I don't know how much I have left to go. So how do we fix this? The example on the right is the exact same form, but just shifted around, right? So buttons should be at the bottom. That supports the top to bottom flow of like completing a form. Stack the form labels on top of the fields. Having them to the left makes it harder to read and wastes really vital space on mobile. Research has also shown that putting labels on the tops of the fields makes filling in forms faster and more accurate. The other thing that's going to happen if you release this item on the left, Google is going to lower your rankings. They do test for mobile responsive website design these days. So if your website is not mobile responsive, you get pushed further down Google search results, and you don't want that, right? So some of the things that Google's looking for, load time. So if your website is really slow to load, they're looking for your font sizes. So anything under 16 pixel font, they're going to flag. Ease of navigation. So making sure that they're all accessible on mobile, clear headings and subheadings, and then how well the site adjusts across different device sizes. So a lot of the things that we've already covered today, make sure they're on your site. Number 10, carefully consider fonts, colors, images. Pick one font. That's it, just one. Hands off the keyboard. Make sure that whatever font that you pick has a regular weight or thickness, has maybe a medium or semi-bold and a bold. That's it. All you need is one. If you're wanting to get a little more creative, you're allowed to pick one more, but then stop. But unless you've taken a typography class and know a lot about fonts, don't try to pair them yourselves. There really is a science to making it cohesive, and the internet, thankfully, has done the hard part for you. I've got a list of resources towards the end, and one of those resources are pre-paired fonts. So find one that you like, find two that you like if you must, and use those. So use high quality images that convey your main idea or the purpose of your website. If you sell products, please make sure that your product images are really high quality. There's nothing worse. And then use color sparingly. A good rule of thumb is 70% of each page should be the background color. So typically that's, white or black or dark gray. 20% should be like a primary color or your brand color, and 10% should be your accent color. So the accent color is really there to attract attention to important elements on the screen, like your call to action buttons. And then remember the wayfinding on the subway. those accent colors are your little arrows that say, hey, go this way, go do that. Here's your next step. Make sure your text color contrasts with the button's background color. That's really important. There's free tools online for checking contrast. And that all goes to accessibility standards. We want to meet WCAG 2.0 standards at bare minimum. And no one likes to read light gray text on a light gray background. It's impossible to read. Another thing to highlight with websites is white space. White space is your friend. What you don't want on your website is everything to be crammed together, tons and tons of text everywhere. Your eye really needs to have places to rest where it's not absorbing a ton of information. White space really helps bring attention to the things you want people to focus on. So don't be afraid of a little bit of white space on your website. And then when in doubt, follow the advice of the famous German minimalist Van der Rohe. Less is more. This is also a great example of using an accent color to focus your attention. So 70% of the background is like a creamy white color, 20% is green, and then 10% is this accent color that's kind of a coral color, and it's focused on the thing I want you to pay the most attention to. So find beauty in the simplicity of form and function. Less is more, right? Have you ever seen a picture scream at you? Does it fill you with delight to see this website? Does it look like anyone spent time thinking through how to categorize the content on this website? What do you think it looks like on mobile? Do you know where to click? Did anyone find the search bar? It's right here. It is the thing that stands out least on the page, right? And who would like to volunteer to enter their credit card information into this website today? Only if you want it to show up on the black market, right? We're not going to do that. Remember the last site? Is basically the same thing. This is Craigslist. They basically provide the same service. They list things for sale. What's interesting is Craigslist has not spent a ton of money on some fancy, robust design. It looks nearly identical to how it looked in 1995 when it launched. But they're also a $3 billion company. They followed the same tips and tricks that I just covered. Most of the time, less is more, right? So websites are really, really, really important. They're the face of your business. When potential customers first experience your brand, your product, your service, make sure that their first experience is a positive one, and they're a lot more likely to convert. So if everything that I just said absolutely terrifies you, here's some resources to help you do some of it yourself. We'll be sending these links out afterward to everybody who registered today. A lot of you might be solo founders, kind of having to figure it out all alone, and these resources will help you get most of the way there. If you don't know where to start off with a website template. This is often where we see most people go wrong. They always think they have to have a completely custom design, and you don't necessarily. Figure out what's going to get you to your goal the quickest and go that path. These templates are out there for a reason. If you purchase a really high quality template, then all you need to do is focus on adding the content. A lot of the design work is already done for you. And if you need help with any of that, please give us a call. We're happy to help. Think about what categories your website needs, and start with a template that's similar to that. If you're just posting a simple blog, there's tons of blog templates out there. If you've got an e-commerce site, there are tons of those. Don't feel like you have to recreate the wheel all the time. And if you get lost along the way, happy to help and point you in the right direction. All right. So thank you so much for joining today. We are offering a free 15-minute live review of your website for any of today's attendees. You can scan the QR code on the screen, fill out a really short form, and we'll follow up to get your review scheduled. We absolutely love helping local businesses and non-local businesses if you are not in Birmingham, but just give us a call and we're happy to help. I have plenty of time for the next 35 minutes for some Q&A. So if you've got any questions, comments, drop them into the chat and happy to answer.
We have not had any comments or well, we've had lots of comments, but no questions have come through. So Kelly, you must have nailed it. You must have gone through everything.
Let's hope so.
We'll give it just a few more minutes. before we drop. But if anybody has questions, like Kelly said, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We definitely want to be here to be a good resource for y'all. We'll try to do a few more of these where we talk about some of these. Kelly, what is your, do you have any favorite websites that you think do a really good job, or do you have any websites that are doing a bad job that you hate using that you can share with us?
Did you see the one in the presentation? That one I would never use, and I would definitely never enter my credit card information in it. I think for an e-commerce site, really the example that I mentioned earlier, I think Jenny's Ice Cream does a fantastic job. It's also really beautifully designed, but it's not overly designed. That might sound like a weird term coming from a designer, but I kind of have a philosophy that design should really get out of the way of people's goals. That's one reason that I really like their website. It's beautifully done, beautiful product pictures, really seamless checkout flow, and then lots of like goodies kind of all throughout the website. So that one's definitely a favorite.
Talk to us a little bit more about what over design means in this context. For how would you describe that for somebody who is not maybe familiar with what that means?
I think this is a fantastic example of an overly designed website. You have to, I think clarity is a part of it, right? It can be the prettiest website in the world. I would not consider this example, a really pretty website. There's lots of color. It looks really flashy. But again, I don't know how to navigate it. I don't know what it does. Even if I was completely wowed by Sick Agency's website, I wouldn't even know how to get in touch with them. I don't want to text you. That's weird and like really personal for, I think, a business transaction. So to me, there's like a number of things about this one that is particularly egregious. But I think the design really needs to get out of the way of, like I said, helping people kind of get to their goal. I think just enough information that kind of supports understanding whether you want to purchase something. So product description, pricing, a clear way to check out, like all of those things to me kind of stand out as like good design. And then if you have laid over too much design on top of that and it creates friction for an end user, I think that's kind of detrimental, right?
We have a really good question from Matt. Is it best to have a one-page website for a small business or a multi-page website if you're thinking about SEO?
Ooh, I think multi-page personally. Look, I'm not an SEO expert at all. However, I know that really for any business, you're competing a lot for keywords. I didn't touch on SEO a lot today, but the more keywords that you can target, the more traffic you're going to have, and that becomes really difficult on a one-page website. I think one-page websites can be great when you're first starting out. You don't have a lot of content. Maybe you don't have case studies yet. Maybe you don't have a bunch of logos to highlight. So there are situations, I think, where a one-page website works really, really well for, like I said, at least just starting out. But the more keywords you start to target, the more individual pages that you're going to need to kind of expand into.
Sometimes when we're working on websites, we talk a little bit about mental models for different industries. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about the difference in, different mental models for different industries, and maybe how a bank website might be different from a quick service restaurant website?
Yeah, I think when it comes to websites, the simplest way to explain mental models is like if you've ever gone to a news website, you know it immediately. So you have this kind of preconceived notion of what a web or a news website looks like, right? So if you log in and it looks like Facebook, you're going to be confused. Like that looks like a social media site. It doesn't look like a news website. So when you think of mental models, it's just what does the visual model look like in someone's mind? So it's kind of their point of reference, right? So they've got this pre-existing kind of example in their head. So when they go to a website, they're kind of expecting it to kind of match that. Just like Amazon, I think a lot of people have this Amazon mental model when they go to e-commerce sites now. And we see it all the time with businesses. They're like, oh, all of our customers are asking for the Amazon like progress tracker. I want to see where my package is. And if you're not doing that, I think Amazon has kind of set the bar for that. I'm not the biggest fan of Amazon. However, I do know from a UX standpoint, they do a really good job of making it really seamless and easy for people to find what they need on the website. So I think when it comes to mental models, if you're an e-commerce site, I think getting as close to Amazon without being a terrible company, the better.
Can you talk a little bit more about Amazon? Because I think they're a really great case study, right? Because that website is hideous.
Yeah.
And overloaded. There's so much information on there. Sometimes you can't get to what you want to do, but you can definitely purchase something. So can you talk a little bit about, Amazon and how they were able to have such a hideous website, but make them sales?
It's interesting because I actually think Amazon focuses a lot on their products, meaning the individual products, and less about the website design, right? I think that their website is a little more similar to Craigslist, except that Craigslist doesn't have pictures and Amazon does. So if you notice the things that Amazon does really, really well, they're filtering. If you look at every category that they have in Amazon, they don't use the same filters for every category. They have them very specific to the thing that you're looking for. So if you're looking for furniture, you'll see dimensions on there that you can kind of filter and search by. And all of those things really help augment your ability to find the specific product that you're looking for, even if you don't know what it's called. These are not mechanisms for searching. You might have searched couch, but Amazon does a really good job of giving you colors to choose from, and size dimensions, and layouts, fabric. And again, if you're shopping for shoes, you have totally different filters. So I think that some of those things can really help. But to your point, Elizabeth, Amazon's website hasn't really changed visually in decades, right? They don't have a lot of color. They don't have a lot of like visual design aesthetics kind of sprinkled throughout. It really is show me reviews, show me what I'm looking for, show me dimensions, product specifications. And then again, making it really easy for you to purchase, right? They have your credit card information saved, they have your address saved, including any address you've ever shipped to in case you want to ship it to your grandmother. All of those things I think can really help make for a seamless shopping experience. And the closer that you can get to modeling something like that, the better. Again, it's not the prettiest site, right? I think they could use a little bit more space and padding and white space in their product, but seems to not be affecting anyone. They're still spending billions of dollars every year.
All right, and I think this is going to be our last question. Kelly, what would you say makes the difference more, the usability of something or the looks of it? And how important are the looks of a website, right? Does it make a difference if it is really beautiful and has bad usability versus if it is extremely ugly Microsoft, Windows 95 look, but extremely usable? What makes a difference there?
I think usability by far is the more important piece of it. If you look at Medium, Medium's a great example of like a very minimalist site, but it's beautifully done. There's hardly any color to it. They basically stick to black and white on everything, but it's really beautifully designed and it's super usable. I think anything that, like I said, gets in the way of design is just bad. And when I say design, I'm strictly talking about usability in this regard. So making it easy for people to find what they need and navigate your site. That is your primary concern, right? You can always sprinkle in color on top of it. But at the end of the day, if you are selling something or providing a service, the usability is going to be the key. I think the exception is really like if you're a design agency like us, we can't have an ugly site. And our website may not be everyone's cup of tea, but you can navigate it. You can find our services easily. You can get in touch with us easily. But purple and pink might not be everybody's favorite color. But if you're coming to us, you should be able to navigate our site really easily. I think outside of an advertising agency or a brand agency, I think that the visual design becomes a little less important. Not to say it's not important, but it becomes less important. I think usability is really the key.
I love it. All right. Well, that's our last question. Kelly, thank you so much. Again, everyone who is here today, thank y'all for joining us. We are so glad to have y'all. If you want to reach out to us, you always can. We're at www.lunarlab.io. I hope that some of you will sign up for our free website audit. And Kelly, any final thoughts?
No, that's it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you learned something.
All right. Thanks, everybody.